Hey, this is Sean with Troxel Services, and this is another 5-minute drive-by for business entrepreneurs. So, topic today is, should you go with a 2-man crew or a 1-man crew? In this example, I'm mainly talking about lawn maintenance. So mowing, regular lawn maintenance. It could be managing flower beds as well. It could be cleaning houses as well. So there's a couple industry where this applies, a couple different industries. And I'm specifically going to talk about the example in my own business, lawn care and landscaping. And the question comes up often, and you'll hear this all over all over YouTube, all over social media from different lawn care company owners. And it's really split on whether or not you should have 1-man crews versus 2-man crews. There is wisdom in both, but let me cut to the chase. After doing this several years, I've landed the plane that I really want 95% of my routes, maybe 90% plus, to be handled by 2-man crews. And let me give you several reasons why I've landed there after honestly not being sure even a year ago. A year ago, if you would ask me, I said, look, I'd like to try about 40%, maybe even half of our routes with 1-man crews. And that's because you'll hear a lot of reasons for that. When you drive between sites, between customer locations, even if it's a 5-minute drive, that becomes 10 minutes of wasted time, indirect time rather, windshield time, that you're not billing any customer if you have 2 people versus 1 people in the vehicle. Of course, it'd be even more with 3, right? But I think 2 is the best overall. There can be actual instances for even 3 if you have lots of complexity on each job. But 2 versus 1. I go with 2, even though some people with 1 say, there's going to be wasted time. And that's true to an extent, but that's really a short-term view of it. So, for example, not just the windshield time and the time between sites is an issue of downtime between 2 people versus 1, but it's also an issue of when one person is done mowing and the other person is not yet done weed eating, and there's a ton more weed eating to do than mowing. Well, then the guy mowing, he can go ahead and blow off the hardscapes, but then he still might be left with not much to do. And more commonly, if it's a larger property, someone might be mowing and the person weed eating starts to run out of things to do. So there's 20 minutes, 30 minutes of downtime. So let me I think those are mostly myths. Now, before I tell you why I believe 2-man crews are 100% better, let me tell you the only exception. If you have really tight routes and really small properties, and you have an incentive program that's based upon quantity and quality, you can actually get away with 1-man crews if you're just within like a 2-mile radius. You have 15, 16 very small properties, and there's quality checks and quantity bonus programs. You can get away with 1-man crews because they'll be incentivized. There's hardly any windshield time. It's easy for them to kind of complete each job and not get overwhelmed on a certain site. But for most lawn care and landscape companies, that's hard to do. So, for instance, I'm in an area where it's a mixture of small lots, maybe 0.2 of an acre, and then we do a lot of acre lots, and we do even 2 or 3 acre lots. I would say our average is still under a half acre, so a lot of neighborhood lots with maybe bigger lots, but still neighborhoods. But we do a lot of country properties as well, and they happen to be very close to the same neighborhoods. So for us, about 10 to 12, 13, 14 properties would be a pretty big route for 2 guys to complete. So what I found, we're about to get to the actual reasons. Here's probably the easiest to understand. Less likely for safety issues and stolen equipment. So the only time I've had brand new backpack blowers and brand new weed eaters stolen was when it was a 1-man crew. Someone was watching him down the street, noticed that when he went to the backyard, he was there on average 15 minutes, and he watched him go from one property to the next. We had 2 different properties right next to one another. And sure enough, brand new backpack blower, just bought it 3 weeks earlier, and one brand new weed eater and one older weed eater were all stolen. So very sad day, but that's part of owning a business. And it was with a one-man crew. That would hardly ever happen with a two-man crew. Same thing with safety. If someone's having, allergy issues and they're having trouble breathing, or maybe someone cuts themselves and they need to be, evaluated real quick, or passes out if it's really hot. Thankfully, we haven't had anybody pass out, but that's going to happen over the course of business. As you scale up to 10, 15, 20, 30 employees, something's going to happen like that. So from a safety perspective, it's so much better with two crews. So I've just given you two reasons that are kind of common sense. Here are some that are a little more complex. We talked earlier about potential wasted time. What does the guy that's weed eating, do if there's no more weed eating to do? Well, the answer is he always finds extra areas to weed eat better, edge better. If he's doing a good job, we talk a lot at Troxel Services about going above and beyond in at least a couple areas that you're responsible for on site. You might have 10 areas you're responsible for, 10 things you're responsible for at each property. Go make 2 of them a whole lot better than, there's some thunder in the background and rain, by the way, but go make 2 of them a whole lot better than normal. Go above and beyond. That way, if you make a small mistake or inadvertently miss something, the customer always appreciates you going above and beyond. You might pull some weeds when you don't even have to pull weeds. The only way you can do that is if you have a 2-man crew, because you actually have some margin there to go above and beyond. So while it hurts in the short term, it's so good in the long term. You keep customers longer, which that's a huge issue, to be able to keep your customer retention up high. You keep customers longer, and the quality of work is overall a little better. Now, if you're trying to rush through the properties because you have to beat the rain or you have to get them done, yeah, you might not be able to do that every time. But with a 2-man crew, you do have the potential to go above and beyond. So that's a third one. And a fourth one would be just the encouragement of having another guy lift the other guy up if one of them's kind of dragging. One person typically encourages the other person to keep going, and there's some camaraderie there. Obviously, there's wisdom in terms of if you have a 2-man crew, the training's better because one guy's been there, maybe 40 times, and the other guy's only been there 3 times. Well, if you have 1-man crews, you might send the guy that's only been to that property 3 times there, and they're still going to miss stuff because they don't have the benefit of having somebody with them that's been there a lot. Lots of thunder in the background. So this is just really, really something we've landed on. I'm going to try to go with 2-man crews almost always. Now, here's an exception. If we're short on staff and we have to finish a route, then I might start off with a 1-man crew and maybe later in the day somebody joins them. But I'm never going to do it on purpose. It's only done when strategically it makes sense, or someone has to call off, or we have to bring somebody off of a route or something. We'll do 1-man crews, but under 10% of the time is the way I would do it. So that is at least 4 or maybe 5, depending on how you count, reasons why 2-man crews are better. Here's another one. We talked about wasted time. So this is the last one I'll mention. Wasted time might be because they're waiting on something to do. Well, with a 1-man crew, just to be honest, that guy's going to sit there at that gas station potentially a little longer. He's going to sit there at the property once he's done. You can still see him on the GPS as being there. But he's going to sit there on his phone for 5 or 10 minutes. Well, if you're part of a 2-man crew, that's not going to happen. You're not going to have 2 guys, especially because we mix up our crews. They're never the same each day. We mix up our crews each time. So eventually that other guy's going to be exposed to wasting time sitting on his phone, for 10 minutes at each property. With 2-man crews, that's not going to happen. One guy's going to say, all right, let's go. All right, get off the phone, let's go. And again, there's going to be some times where one guy might have a bad day and he's, just not motivated a whole lot, and the other guy is. So you just got back at least half of the wasted time that a lot of the people saying one-man crews are better. You just got it back half right there. Even if you didn't count the other 5 or 6 reasons why two-man crews are good, you just have less likelihood of some guy wasting time by himself. It may even be that he's sitting there talking to a customer for 30 minutes about a job he wants to do on the side. Well, that's not going to happen with a two-man crew. There's accountability with that. There's a sense of, hey, we're part of this team, we're part of this company, you're not just out here solo. So there are just so many reasons why two-man crews are good. I know this was more like a 10-minute drive-by, but that is why we are going with two-man crews. And adjust your pricing a little bit if you have to. In the long run, you'll be thankful that you do two-man crews versus one-man crews for your service-based business. This is Sean Troxel for another 5-minute drive-by for business entrepreneurs.